The operating room was silent except for the steady beep of the heart monitor. Dr. Emily Stern lay unconscious on the table, undergoing what should have been a routine procedure. Suddenly, the beeping turned into a single, continuous tone. Emily's heart had stopped for 6 minutes. She was clinically dead. But in those 6 minutes, Emily, a respected neuroscientist and lifelong atheist, experienced something that would change her forever. She saw things that, according to her scientific understanding, should have been impossible. Dr. Emily Stern's career was built on a foundation of unwavering skepticism. As a renowned neuroscientist, she had dedicated her life to unraveling the mysteries of the human brain through the lens of strict materialism. Her belief that consciousness was nothing more than a product of neural activity had guided her research for decades. Earning her accolades and respect in the scientific community, Emily's reputation as a brilliant researcher was matched only by her notoriety as an outspoken atheist. She had never shied away from challenging spiritual or metaphysical explanations of consciousness, often engaging in heated debates with colleagues who dared to suggest that the mind might be more than just brain activity. Her arguments were razor-sharp, backed by years of meticulous research and a deep understanding of neurological processes that in her groundbreaking work on brain function. Emily had pioneered new techniques for mapping neural networks. Her studies on patients with brain injuries have provided compelling evidence for the localization of cognitive functions, reinforcing her belief that every aspect of human experience could be traced to specific regions of the brain. Emily's published papers on materialist explanations of mind had become required reading in neuroscience programs around the world. One of Emily's most controversial studies had focused on the neural correlates of religious experiences. Using advanced brain imaging techniques, she had demonstrated that spiritual visions and feelings of transcendence could be induced by stimulating certain areas of the temporal lobe. This research had caused quite a stir, with Emily arguing that it proved religious experiences were nothing more than quirks of brain chemistry. As Emily prepared for her upcoming surgery, a routine procedure to remove a benign tumor, she felt a sense of calm confidence. She had always approached her own health with the same analytical mindset she applied to her research. The night before the operation, Emily sat in her hospital room, reviewing her latest manuscript, a comprehensive theory of consciousness that she believed would definitively prove the mind was inseparable from the brain. Looking out the window at the setting sun, Emily allowed herself a small smile. She felt certain that her life's work was on the verge of changing the scientific landscape forever. The idea that consciousness could exist independently of the brain seemed as absurd to her as the notion of a flat Earth. Emily drifted off to sleep, her mind filled with equations and neural pathways, blissfully unaware that her entire worldview was about to be shattered as the anesthesiologist prepared to put her under the next morning. Emily's last conscious thought was a mental note to schedule a meeting with her research team to finalize the details of their upcoming experiment. Little did she know that in a matter of hours, everything she thought she understood about the nature of consciousness and reality would be called into question. The line between life and death is often thought to be clearly defined. But what happens when a renowned neuroscientist finds herself straddling that boundary? As Emily Stern's heart stopped beating on the operating table, her journey into the impossible was just beginning. The day had started like any other for the surgical team at Central Medical Center. Dr. Emily Stern's procedure was scheduled as a routine tumor removal, with no anticipated complications. The anesthesiologist had carefully monitored Emily's vitals as she drifted into unconsciousness, and the surgeons began their work with practiced precision, but fate had other plans. Halfway through the operation, the steady rhythm of Emily's heart monitor suddenly gave way to a single, piercing tone. The operating room fell silent for a split second before erupting into a flurry of activity. "Code Blue," shouted the lead surgeon, his voice cutting through the tension. The medical team sprang into action, their training kicking in as they fought to bring Emily back from the brink. A nurse began chest compressions while another prepared the defibrillator. "Charging to 200 joules," called out the cardiologist, her eyes fixed on the flat line tracing across the monitor. The battle to revive Emily raged on. She had entered a state of clinical death. In medical terms, this meant her heart had stopped beating and blood was no longer flowing to her brain. Under normal circumstances, brain activity ceases within 20 to 40 seconds of cardiac arrest. Without oxygen, neurons begin to die rapidly, and after about 5 minutes, irreversible damage typically occurs, yet recent studies have shown that in some cases of cardiac arrest, structured brain activity can persist for up to 10 minutes after the heart stops beating. This phenomenon has led researchers to question our understanding of the dying process and the nature of consciousness itself. As the minutes ticked by, the tension in the operating room grew palpable. The team continued their efforts, acutely aware that every second without oxygen could mean permanent damage to Emily's brain. The very organ she had dedicated her life to studying. What was Emily experiencing during these crucial moments? Was her consciousness simply extinguished like a candle flame? Or was something else occurring? Something that would challenge her lifelong beliefs about the nature of reality. After 6 agonizing minutes, just as hope began to fade, Emily's heart suddenly sprang back to life. The flat line on the monitor gave way to erratic spikes, then slowly settled into a steady rhythm. A collective sigh of relief swept through the operating room. "We've got her back," announced the lead surgeon, his voice thick with emotion. The team worked to stabilize Emily. None of them could have imagined the profound transformation that had taken place in those 6 minutes. For Emily Stern, renowned neuroscientist and steadfast atheist, the boundary between life and death had blurred, and with it, her entire understanding of consciousness and reality. In the recovery room, monitors beeped steadily, tracking Emily's vital signs as she slowly emerged from anesthesia. To the medical staff, it appeared to be a miraculous recovery from a near-fatal complication. But for Emily, those 6 minutes of clinical death would prove to be an eternity, one that would shatter her scientific worldview and set her on an unexpected journey of discovery. 6 minutes of clinical death. In the world of neuroscience, it should have meant a temporary cessation of consciousness at most. But for Emily Stern, it became a gateway to a reality that defied everything she thought she knew about the brain and human experience. What awaited her on the other side of that threshold? As Emily's consciousness detached from her physical form, she found herself immersed in a realm of pure energy and light. The stark contrast between this ethereal space and her scientific understanding of brain function was immediately apparent. Gone were the familiar constraints of time and space. Replaced by a sense of boundless expansion and interconnectedness, the sensations Emily encountered were unlike anything she had ever experienced or studied. Colors seemed more vibrant and alive, pulsating with their own consciousness. Sounds manifested as intricate patterns of light and energy, creating a symphony of sensory input that transcended normal perception. Emily felt herself moving through this space effortlessly, guided by an unseen force that seemed to anticipate her every thought. As she explored this new reality, Emily began to recognize elements commonly reported in near-death experiences. A sense of profound peace washed over her, dissolving any fear or confusion. She felt an overwhelming presence of love and acceptance, as if the very fabric of this realm was woven from pure compassion. In the distance, she perceived a brilliant light that seemed to beckon her forward, promising answers to questions she hadn't even thought to ask. Emily's journey through this mystical landscape culminated in a pivotal moment that would forever alter her understanding of existence. As she approached the radiant light, she felt herself merging with a vast field of knowledge. In an instant, she gained access to what seemed like the collective wisdom of the universe. Complex scientific concepts unfolded before her, revealing intricate connections between consciousness, energy, and the fundamental nature of reality. This profound sense of universal knowledge and interconnectedness was unlike anything Emily had ever encountered in her scientific pursuits. She understood, with unwavering clarity, that consciousness was not confined to the brain, but was an intrinsic part of the cosmic tapestry. The boundaries between individual minds dissolved, revealing a unified field of awareness that permeated all of existence. As Emily absorbed these revelations, she felt a gentle pull back towards her physical form. The luminous realm began to fade, replaced by the muted sounds and subdued colors of the hospital room. With each passing second, the vivid details of her experience seemed to slip away, like a dream upon waking. Yet, the core of what she had witnessed remained etched in her mind, a truth too profound to be forgotten. Opening her eyes to the familiar surroundings of the recovery room, Emily knew with absolute certainty that nothing would ever be the same. The monitor's steady beep and the hushed voices of medical staff seemed almost comically mundane compared to the vast, interconnected reality she had just experienced. As she lay there, still groggy from anesthesia, Emily began to grapple with the monumental task that lay ahead, reconciling her scientific worldview with the undeniable truth of her journey beyond the veil of consciousness. As Emily's eyes fluttered open, the stark white ceiling of the recovery room came into focus. Her mind, still clouded by anesthesia, struggled to make sense of the vivid images and sensations that lingered just beyond her grasp. The steady beep of the heart monitor seemed to echo the pulsing energy she had experienced in that otherworldly realm. Confusion washed over her as she tried to reconcile the familiar hospital surroundings with the profound journey she had just undergone. Emily's scientific mind reeled, grappling with the impossibility of what she had witnessed. How could she, a neuroscientist who had dedicated her life to understanding the brain, have experienced consciousness without brain activity? As the fog of anesthesia lifted, Emily's emotional state began to oscillate wildly. One moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of awe and wonder, recalling the boundless love and acceptance she had encountered. The next, a wave of fear and disbelief would crash over her, threatening to drown out the beauty of her experience. The conflict between her scientific beliefs and her recent journey beyond death created a cognitive dissonance that felt almost physical in its intensity. Emily had always prided herself on her rational approach to the world, dismissing accounts of near-death experiences as mere hallucinations caused by a dying brain. Now, she found herself on the other side of that equation, struggling to explain away what she knew to be true. As she lay in the recovery room, Emily's mind raced through possible explanations. Could it have been a vivid dream induced by the anesthesia? But the clarity and coherence of her experience seemed to defy that simple explanation. Perhaps it was a hallucination caused by oxygen deprivation? Yet the profound insights and the sense of universal knowledge she had gained felt far too real to be dismissed so easily. The more Emily tried to rationalize her experience, the more she realized that her current scientific framework was inadequate to explain what had happened to her. This realization both terrified and exhilarated her. As a scientist, she had always been driven by the pursuit of knowledge, and now she faced the greatest mystery of her career, one that challenged the very foundations of her understanding of consciousness and reality. In the midst of her internal struggle, a new resolve began to take shape. Emily realized that she had been given a unique opportunity to bridge the gap between science and the unexplained. Her training as a neuroscientist, combined with her firsthand experience of consciousness beyond the brain, placed her in a position to investigate this phenomenon with a level of insight few others could claim. With this newfound purpose, Emily's confusion and fear began to give way to determination. She would approach her experience with the same scientific rigor she had applied to all her previous research. She would gather data, analyze brain scans, and seek out others who had undergone similar experiences. Emily was determined to uncover the truth, wherever it might lead. As she made this decision, Emily could not have imagined the extraordinary journey that lay ahead. The evidence she would uncover in the coming months and years would challenge not only her own beliefs, but the very foundations of our understanding of consciousness and reality. Her awakening in that recovery room was just the first step on a path that would lead her to the frontiers of human knowledge and beyond. Emily's journey into the unknown was about to take an even more startling turn. As she pored over her medical records, she discovered something that defied everything she thought she knew about neuroscience. What if the impossible was staring her right in the face, captured in black and white? In the weeks following her near-death experience, Emily approached her medical data with the same methodical rigor she had applied to countless research projects. She gathered every scan, every readout, and every note from her time in the hospital. Her dining room table became a makeshift laboratory, covered in stacks of papers and illuminated by the soft glow of her laptop screen. As Emily examined her brain scans, her eyes widened in disbelief. The images from the period of her clinical death showed patterns of activity that, according to everything she knew, should not have been possible. During cardiac arrest, brain function typically ceases within seconds. Yet here, in crisp detail, were signs of complex neural activity occurring minutes after her heart had stopped. The conflicting evidence before her was staggering. Emily's scans showed heightened activity in regions associated with memory formation, visual processing, and even higher-order thinking. These were not the random firings of a dying brain, but organized patterns that suggested a level of consciousness that should have been impossible in her condition. Emily reached out to colleagues, seeking their expertise and insight. Dr. Sarah Chun, a leading neuroimaging specialist, examined the scans with growing amazement. "I've never seen anything like this," she admitted, her voice a mixture of excitement and bewilderment. "These patterns resemble those we see in deep meditative states or during vivid dreams. But to occur during clinical death? It challenges everything we understand about brain function." As word spread of Emily's unusual case, a team of researchers from various disciplines began to take interest. Dr. Michael Roth, a quantum physicist with a background in consciousness studies, offered a provocative theory. What if consciousness isn't solely produced by the brain? He posited. These scans might suggest a level of awareness that exists independently of normal neural activity. The implications of this idea were staggering. If consciousness could persist beyond clinical death, it would upend centuries of scientific understanding about the nature of the mind and its relationship to the physical brain. Emily found herself standing at the edge of a vast, uncharted territory of human experience. As she grappled with the potential explanations for her anomalous brain scans, Emily felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The scientist in her craved a rational explanation, yet she couldn't ignore the profound experience she had undergone during those 6 minutes of clinical death. For the first time in her career, she was forced to seriously consider the possibility that consciousness might extend beyond the confines of the brain. This realization marked a turning point for Emily. Her search for answers would lead her down unexpected paths, challenging not only her own beliefs, but the very foundations of neuroscience. As she closed her laptop and looked out at the night sky, Emily knew that her journey of discovery was only just beginning. The mysteries of consciousness, it seemed, were far deeper and more profound than she had ever imagined. In the world of science, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But what happens when the evidence itself defies our understanding of what's possible? Emily was about to find out as she prepared to present her findings to a room full of skeptics who had built their careers on the very foundation she was about to shake. Emily stood at the podium, her heart racing as she faced her esteemed colleagues. The conference room at the National Neuroscience Symposium was packed, with many scientists standing along the walls, eager to hear what the once staunch materialist had to say. As she began her presentation, Emily could feel the weight of her peers' scrutiny. She started by recounting her near-death experience, careful to maintain a tone of scientific objectivity despite the deeply personal nature of her account. As she described the vivid sensations and profound insights she had encountered, she could see furrowed brows and skeptical glances exchanged among the audience. The real challenge came when Emily presented her brain scans. The images displayed on the screen behind her showed unmistakable signs of complex neural activity during her period of clinical death. "As you can see," Emily explained, her voice steady despite her inner turmoil, "these patterns suggest a level of consciousness that persisted even when traditional understanding tells us it should have been impossible." The room erupted into murmurs and whispers. Dr. James Harrington, a renowned materialist philosopher, was the first to voice his skepticism. "Dr. Stern," he began, his tone sharp, "are you suggesting that consciousness can exist independently of the brain? That flies in the face of decades of established neuroscience." Emily took a deep breath before responding. "I'm suggesting that our current understanding of consciousness may be incomplete. These scans, along with my subjective experience, indicate that there might be aspects of awareness that extend beyond our current models of brain function." As the debate intensified, Emily found herself navigating a minefield of scientific and philosophical arguments. Some colleagues accused her of abandoning scientific rigor in favor of spiritual speculation. Others questioned the validity of her data, suggesting possible equipment malfunctions or misinterpretations of the scans. Yet, there were also those who showed cautious interest. Dr. Sarah Chun, who had examined Emily's scans earlier, spoke up in support. "While Dr. Stern's experience is certainly unusual, we cannot ignore the empirical evidence before us. These scans warrant further investigation, regardless of our preconceived notions." As the presentation reached its climax, Emily revealed her proposal for a comprehensive research project to study consciousness in near-death states. The room fell silent as she outlined her ambitious plans, which included collaboration with experts from various fields and the use of cutting-edge technology to capture and analyze brain activity in extreme conditions. The ensuing discussion was heated, with arguments for and against Emily's proposal flying back and forth. Some scientists were intrigued by the potential for groundbreaking discoveries, while others remained steadfast in their skepticism. As the session came to a close, it was clear that Emily's presentation had ignited a fierce debate that would not be easily resolved as Emily left the podium. She felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. She had taken the first step in sharing her extraordinary experience with the scientific community, but the road ahead would be far from easy. Little did she know that the personal cost of her revelation would extend far beyond the professional realm, challenging not only her career, but also her relationships and her place in the scientific world she had called home for so long. Emily's world turned upside down as news of her near-death experience and controversial research spread through the scientific community. The ripples of her revelation extended far beyond the conference room, touching every aspect of her personal and professional life. At work, Emily found herself at the center of a storm. Colleagues who had once sought her expertise now avoided eye contact in the hallways. Her inbox filled with a mix of passionate support and scathing criticism from peers around the globe. The research grant she had been counting on was suddenly under review, its future uncertain. Emily's department head called her into his office, his face a mask of concern and disappointment. "You've always been one of our brightest minds, Emily," he said, his voice heavy. "But this could jeopardize the credibility of our entire department." The strain began to show in Emily's personal relationships as well. Her partner, Mark, a fellow scientist, struggled to reconcile the woman he thought he knew with the person standing before him now. Their once stimulating discussions about the latest neuroscience research devolved into tense silences. "I just don't understand," Mark confessed one night, his voice tinged with frustration. "How can you throw away everything you've worked for based on one unexplainable experience?" Even Emily's parents, who had always been her biggest supporters, seemed unsure how to react. Her mother's voice wavered on the phone as she asked, "Are you sure you're feeling all right, dear? Maybe you should take some time off." The emotional toll of challenging her fundamental beliefs weighed heavily on Emily. She found herself questioning everything she thought she knew about the nature of reality and consciousness. Sleepless nights became the norm as her mind raced, trying to reconcile her scientific training with the profound experience she had undergone. There were moments of exhilaration as she contemplated the possibilities her discovery might unlock, followed by waves of doubt and fear about the path she had chosen to doctor. Sarah Chun, one of the few colleagues who had shown genuine interest in Emily's findings, recommended she speak with a psychologist who specialized in helping people integrate spiritual experiences. The sessions provided Emily with valuable insights into the psychological impact of spiritual awakenings. She learned that it was common for people who underwent such profound shifts in perspective to experience a period of disorientation and conflict with their previous worldview. As weeks turned into months, Emily found herself at a crossroads. The pressure to recant her claims and return to the safety of established scientific paradigms was immense. Yet, the memory of what she had experienced during those 6 minutes of clinical death remained vivid and undeniable. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight filtered through her office blinds, Emily made her decision. She would dedicate herself fully to understanding consciousness beyond the brain, no matter the personal or professional cost. With trembling hands, she began drafting a proposal for a new research initiative that would push the boundaries of neuroscience and explore the frontiers of human experience. As Emily embarked on this new chapter, she knew that her journey would lead her into uncharted territories. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and potential ridicule. Yet, for the first time since her near-death experience, Emily felt a sense of purpose and clarity. She was ready to explore the mysteries of consciousness, wherever they might lead. In the world of science, paradigm shifts don't come easy. Emily was about to learn just how far the scientific establishment would go to protect its cherished beliefs. But what if her unorthodox methods held the key to unlocking the greatest mystery of human existence? Emily Stern's new research project was nothing short of revolutionary. She set out to investigate consciousness beyond the confines of the brain, a concept that challenged the very foundations of neuroscience. Her approach was multifaceted, combining cutting-edge technology with insights from her near-death experience. Emily proposed using advanced brain imaging techniques during meditation and altered states of consciousness. Hoping to capture evidence of non-local awareness, the obstacles she faced were formidable. Many of her colleagues viewed her work with skepticism, if not outright hostility. Funding agencies were reluctant to support research that seemed to blur the lines between science and spirituality. Emily found herself in the uncomfortable position of being an outsider in the very field she had once dominated. Undeterred, Emily pressed on. She reached out to researchers in quantum physics, seeking to explore the possible connections between consciousness and the fundamental nature of reality. Together, they developed experiments to test the hypothesis that consciousness might have quantum properties, allowing it to exist in a state of superposition beyond the physical brain. One of Emily's most innovative methods involved the use of sensory deprivation chambers combined with carefully calibrated electromagnetic fields. Volunteers would enter these chambers and attempt to perceive information from distant locations, while their brain activity was monitored in real time. The goal was to identify patterns of neural activity that corresponded with accurate remote perceptions, potentially providing evidence for non-local consciousness. As Emily's research progressed, she began to incorporate insights from various spiritual traditions into her scientific framework. She studied ancient meditation techniques, seeking to understand how they might alter brain function and potentially facilitate experiences of expanded consciousness. This synthesis of modern science and age-old wisdom sparked controversy, but also attracted interest from a small but growing group of open-minded researchers. The anticipation built as Emily's team prepared to analyze their initial results. Months of meticulous data collection and rigorous controls had led to this moment. As they pored over the findings, patterns began to emerge that defied conventional explanations. There were instances of participants accurately describing distant locations while in altered states, correlating with unusual brain activity that seemed to transcend normal neural processing. While far from conclusive, these early results were promising enough to capture the attention of a handful of respected scientists. Dr. Sophia Chong, a quantum physicist from MIT, expressed cautious excitement about Emily's work. Dr. Stern's research is pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible, she stated. While we must remain skeptical, these findings warrant serious consideration and further investigation. As word of Emily's project spread, a small but dedicated group of researchers began to coalesce around her ideas. They recognized the potential for a new understanding of consciousness that could revolutionize not just neuroscience, but our entire conception of reality and human potential. Yet, as Emily prepared to publish her preliminary findings, she knew that the most profound discoveries were still to come. The journey to unravel the mysteries of consciousness had only just begun, and the implications of her work would reach far beyond the scientific community, touching the very core of human existence. While reviewing thousands of near-death experience accounts, Emily noticed something extraordinary. A recurring motif appeared across cultures, religions, and time periods, a pattern so precise it defied coincidence. Could this be the key to unlocking the greatest mystery of human existence? Emily's comprehensive study on near-death experiences had amassed an unprecedented amount of data. Her team had meticulously collected and analyzed accounts from individuals around the world who had experienced clinical death and returned to tell their stories. As they sifted through the mountain of information, an unexpected correlation began to emerge, regardless of the experiencer's background. Certain elements appeared with startling consistency. The sensation of moving through a tunnel, encounters with deceased loved ones, and a profound feeling of unconditional love were reported time and time again. But it was the description of a complex, geometric pattern that caught Emily's attention. This intricate design, often described as a cosmic lattice or the fabric of reality, was reported by individuals who had no prior knowledge of such concepts. The significance of these patterns in relation to current scientific understanding was profound. Dr. Sophia Chong, the quantum physicist collaborating with Emily, was particularly intrigued. These descriptions align remarkably well with some of our theoretical models of quantum entanglement and the structure of space-time at the smallest scales, she explained. It's as if these individuals are perceiving the fundamental building blocks of reality. As news of the study's findings spread, experts from various fields weighed in on the implications. Dr. Robert Lanza, a renowned biologist and proponent of biocentrism, suggested that the recurring patterns might indicate a deeper connection between consciousness and the universe itself. What if consciousness isn't just a byproduct of brain activity, but a fundamental aspect of reality, he posited. These experiences might be giving us a glimpse into the true nature of existence. The potential explanations for the observed patterns range from the scientific to the mystical. Some researchers proposed that the brain, when freed from normal sensory input, might be able to perceive quantum-level phenomena. Others suggested that consciousness might exist in a higher dimensional space, with near-death experiences providing brief access to this expanded reality. As Emily and her team delved deeper into the data, they uncovered even more intriguing correlations. The complexity of the reported patterns seemed to correspond with the duration of clinical death, suggesting a possible relationship between time spent in this altered state and the depth of insight gained. The implications of these findings were staggering. Emily's research was beginning to suggest a fundamental connection between consciousness and the very fabric of reality. The idea that human awareness might be intricately woven into the cosmic tapestry challenged not only our understanding of the brain, but also our conception of the universe itself. As Emily prepared to publish her findings, she knew that the scientific community would be shaken to its core. The implications of her research would reach far beyond neuroscience, touching fields as diverse as physics, philosophy, and even spirituality. The boundaries between mind and matter, observer and observed, were blurring in ways that promised to revolutionize our understanding of existence itself. The boundaries between science and spirituality began to blur as Emily's groundbreaking research gained traction in the scientific community. What started as a controversial theory had evolved into a new paradigm that challenged the very foundations of our understanding of reality. Emily's work on consciousness beyond the brain had caught the attention of leading researchers across various disciplines. Neuroscientists, quantum physicists, and philosophers alike found themselves drawn to the implications of her findings. The idea that consciousness might be a fundamental aspect of the universe, rather than simply a product of neural activity, was gaining acceptance in circles that had long dismissed such notions. As Emily presented her research at prestigious conferences and published in peer-reviewed journals, she encountered both excitement and resistance. Many scientists struggled to reconcile her findings with their long-held beliefs about the nature of consciousness and existence. The concept of a non-local consciousness that could persist beyond physical death challenged centuries of materialist thinking. The philosophical implications of Emily's work were profound. If consciousness was not confined to the brain, what did that mean for our understanding of the self, free will, and the nature of reality itself? These questions sparked intense debates in academic circles, and beyond. Emily's research drew unexpected parallels with ancient spiritual traditions. The descriptions of expanded consciousness and interconnectedness reported in near-death experiences resonated with concepts found in Buddhism, Hinduism, and mystical branches of various religions. This convergence of cutting-edge science and age-old wisdom created a bridge between seemingly disparate worldviews. As Emily's team continued to gather and analyze data, they inched closer to a unified theory of consciousness. They explored the possibility that consciousness might be a fundamental property of the universe, akin to space and time. This theory proposed that the brain acted as a receiver and processor of consciousness rather than its generator. Much like a radio tunes into existing radio waves, the implications of this new paradigm extended far beyond the realm of pure science. It raised profound questions about the nature of life, death, and the continuity of consciousness. If consciousness could exist independently of the brain, what did that mean for our understanding of the afterlife? Could this explain phenomena like past life memories or the sense of connection some people feel with deceased loved ones? Emily's work laid the foundation for a new field of study that combined elements of neuroscience, quantum physics, and consciousness research. Universities began offering courses and degree programs in this emerging discipline, attracting students eager to explore the frontiers of human understanding. As Emily watched her ideas take root and flourish in the scientific community, she felt a sense of both accomplishment and humility. She knew that this was just the beginning of a much longer journey. The mysteries of consciousness and existence were vast, and each discovery seemed to open up new avenues of inquiry. The paradigm shift sparked by Emily's research promised to revolutionize not only our scientific understanding, but also our perception of what it means to be human. As the boundaries between the physical and the metaphysical continued to blur, humanity stood on the brink of a new era of exploration and discovery. The reverberations of Emily's research extended far beyond the ivory towers of academia. As news of her groundbreaking work on consciousness spread, it ignited a firestorm of interest and controversy across multiple scientific disciplines. The implications of her findings were too profound to be confined in neuroscience alone. In the field of medicine, Emily's research sparked a revolution in how doctors approach patient care, particularly in cases involving coma and end-of-life situations. Hospitals began implementing new protocols that took into account the possibility of continued consciousness even when brain activity appeared to have ceased. This shift led to remarkable cases of recovery that challenged long-held beliefs about the nature of consciousness and its relationship to the physical body. The world of psychology found itself grappling with the implications of Emily's work as well. Therapists began exploring new treatment modalities that incorporated the concept of non-local consciousness. This approach yielded surprising results in patients dealing with trauma, addiction, and mental health disorders. The idea that consciousness might extend beyond the confines of the individual mind opened up new avenues for healing and personal growth. However, these advancements did not come without conflict. Traditional medical and psychological establishments pushed back against what they saw as a dangerous blurring of the lines between science and spirituality. Heated debates erupted in professional conferences and academic journals, with proponents of Emily's work facing accusations of abandoning scientific rigor in favor of mysticism. Meanwhile, the tech industry saw potential in Emily's discoveries for developing new forms of artificial intelligence and human-computer interfaces. Silicon Valley giants poured millions into research projects aimed at harnessing the power of non-local consciousness. The possibility of creating AI systems that could tap into this expanded field of awareness tantalized investors and futurists alike. As Emily's work gained traction in scientific circles, it began to capture the public imagination as well. Popular media outlets ran feature stories on her research, bringing complex concepts of quantum consciousness to mainstream audiences. Book deals and documentary offers flooded in, turning Emily into an unlikely celebrity scientist. This surge of public interest wasn't without its drawbacks. Emily found herself thrust into the spotlight, facing both adoration and skepticism from an audience far beyond her peers. She struggled to maintain the integrity of her work while navigating the complexities of sudden fame. Yet, as the dust settled, it became clear that Emily's research had opened up new possibilities for human growth and understanding. People from all walks of life began to question their assumptions about the nature of reality and their place within it. Support groups sprung up for individuals who had experienced near-death events, providing a space for them to share their stories without fear of ridicule. As Emily looked to the future, she could see the potential for even more profound discoveries on the horizon. The implications of her work for humanity's understanding of life, death, and the nature of existence itself were staggering. She knew that the journey of exploration she had begun would continue long after her own lifetime, shaping the course of human knowledge for generations to come. Despite Emily Stern's groundbreaking discoveries, the ultimate nature of consciousness remained as elusive as ever. As she stood at the forefront of a new scientific paradigm, Emily found herself grappling with questions that seemed to multiply with each revelation. The journey that had begun with her near-death experience had led her through uncharted territories of human understanding, challenging the very foundations of science and spirituality alike. Emily often reflected on the transformation she had undergone. From a staunch materialist to a pioneer in the field of consciousness studies, her path had been anything but straightforward. The skeptical neuroscientist who once dismissed near-death experiences as mere hallucinations now found herself exploring the farthest reaches of human awareness. It was a change that still left her in awe. Even years after her fateful surgery, as Emily's research continued to push the boundaries of scientific inquiry, she faced an ever-growing list of unanswered questions. How did consciousness interact with the physical world? Could it truly exist independently of the brain? And if so, what implications did this have for our understanding of life, death, and the nature of reality itself? These mysteries haunted Emily, driving her to probe deeper into the unknown. The balance between scientific rigor and spiritual openness proved to be a constant challenge. Emily worked tirelessly to maintain the highest standards of empirical research while remaining receptive to experiences that defied conventional explanation. This delicate equilibrium often put her at odds with colleagues on both sides of the debate. Some accused her of abandoning scientific principles, while others criticized her for not fully embracing spiritual interpretations of her findings. In quiet moments, Emily marveled at the profound impact her work had had on the world. Her research had sparked a revolution in medicine, psychology, and technology. It had given hope to those grappling with loss and opened new avenues for human growth and understanding. Yet, with each breakthrough came the humbling realization of how much remained unknown. As Emily looked to the future, she felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The possibilities for further exploration seemed limitless. She envisioned new experiments that could probe the depths of human consciousness, perhaps even establishing communication with those in altered states of awareness. The potential for unlocking the secrets of existence itself loomed on the horizon, tantalizing and terrifying in equal measure. Despite the challenges and uncertainties, Emily found herself more committed than ever to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. She had come to embrace the mystery that lay at the heart of consciousness, recognizing that true understanding might always remain just beyond reach. This acceptance brought with it a sense of peace and purpose. As Emily prepared to embark on the next phase of her research, she knew that the quest to understand consciousness and existence would continue long after her own lifetime. It was a journey that would require the combined efforts of scientists, philosophers, and spiritual seekers for generations to come. And as she took her next steps into the unknown, Emily felt a profound sense of gratitude for the opportunity to play a part in this grand exploration of the human experience. Emily Stern's journey from skeptical neuroscientist to pioneering consciousness researcher reveals the vast potential for human understanding and growth. Her near-death experience and subsequent scientific discoveries have opened doors to realms of knowledge once thought impossible. The exploration of consciousness, it seems, may hold the key to unlocking the deepest mysteries of existence. As we continue to push the boundaries of science and experience, we may find that reality is far more extraordinary than we ever imagined. Emily's work has not only challenged our understanding of the brain and consciousness, but has also bridged the gap between science and spirituality. Her research suggests that our awareness might be intricately woven into the very fabric of the universe, a concept that promises to revolutionize our perception of life, death, and the nature of existence itself. The journey of discovery Emily began shows no signs of slowing. With each new revelation, more questions arise, beckoning us to delve deeper into the unknown. As we stand on the brink of a new era of exploration, one thing becomes clear: the greatest adventure of human consciousness may have only just begun.